kind of decided with the subject that this is, I'm just going to call this kind of a preliminary, because there's a whole book which we've gone through about 1/10 of, which we've gone through 1/10 of, about Mahaprabhu's Bhajan and Gambhira, plus different things I wanted to say. So, but we can keep it simple. I've done this so many times before too. All right, so let's go ahead and begin then. Gora Graganya gonna go to Goloruharam, Goranga Gura Tamago Pirakopa Briksham, Gopala Gada Ratidam, Yati Singha Gora Govindus Deshikavaram Satatam Namami. Uttama Adama Kichuna Bachila Jachiya Dile Kakola Kahe Premananda Emona Goranga Hridaya Dariya Bola Vaja Goranga Kaha Goranga Laha Gorangira Namare Jai Jana Goranga Bhaje Se Hoya Mara Prana Re Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Yashaiva Padambu Bhakti Labhya Prema Bidana Parama Pumarta Tasmai Jagan Mangala Mangalaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Madgavir Api Gopala Sri Kuryat Kripaya Judi Tadaiva Sambhaya Pitva Rishayustat Priya Janaha Shri Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Sasanatana Rupaka Gopala Raghunathabda Brajavam Pahimam Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Vikram Keshri Prabhu, very nice to see you. Mataji Hare Krishna. I was feeling so terrible. I told him it was going to be 11:30 at night. India time. They're in Mayapur right now. So it's actually 9:30.
Yeah, yes, it is. It is still good time. Thank
Still
you.
late, but it's not as bad as 11:30. 11:30.
Maximum.
Is it nice for you guys in Mayapur? Everything's going well?
Yes, it's very nice. Actually, we don't know where to go. It's crowded also. A lot of guests from all around. So some by the Krishna's arrangement, we are doing the program with in the Grihastha area here in housing. There is Kunti Bhavan, a place where the widows are staying. So they have us in their house, and there is a Prabhupada disciple, Yashomati. So she's doing every evening program for Damodar, and they also invite us to participate. So this is our team now.
You know, we were talking today, and it's actually something I really like to say to everybody in the group too. that I just don't have so much a heart anymore for platform preaching. I'll do it sometimes if I'm requested or something. But what I really want to do is be with intimate groups of devotees and do kirtan with them. Let me share something with all of you. This is some verses that I've been meditating on from every day. Our Kartik Brat that we're just saying, it's Kartik Brat the light. So there's 4 verses I'm reciting every day from Natam Das Thakur, amongst other things. And let me share 2 of these with you guys. You can go ahead and Anakata anavyata nahi jena jana tata kumara charana smriti saje avirate abhikal tuya guna kalakal gai jena satira samaj. Wherever there are discussions on mundane topics, pains, pleasures, things like that, I want to restrain myself from going there. Let the remembrance of your lotus feet decorate my heart. May I properly chant your transcendental qualities unceasingly in the society of devotees. The word abhikal, kala means time, abhikal means proper time, or to do something properly. So properly to do Krishna Katha means we do it in society with devotees. And then a little later in same Prem Bhakti Chandrika, he says, Sangsara bhajatare kam, fanse bhandi mare, fukara koroho haridas, koroho bhakata sangha, prema katha rasa ranga tabe hoy vipada vinas. It's very heavy. Batojari, he says that this material world is cheating you. You're being ripped off by lust and all these different things. It's binding you up with ropes. And you should lament. Fukara means to call out or cry very helplessly. And what should you do? Koroho bhakata sangha, you should associate with devotees. And how do you associate with devotees? Prema kata rasa ranga. You should hear about the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, and tabe hoy vipada vinas, and all the problems will go away. So this is not something you can do in a lot of temples, honestly, because we're preaching to new devotees and things, and it's what should be done. It's important to preach to the new devotees. It's not something we do at a Sunday feast program. It's not something we do at a preaching program, but it's really something really, really necessary for our hearts. So anyway, having said all that, let's get started with our subject today. Ujjwala Rasiga, you're here too. It's so nice to see you. Hi, Paul. We're missing you. Krishna Balaram. Hi, Krishna Prabhu. So today, in our last session, we spoke something about the position of Shup Damodar Goswami within Gambhira Leela and what is his position. And so today we want to speak something about Ramananda Roy. And we'd like to begin with offering pranams to Ramananda Roy. There's a beautiful verse from the Bhajan Leela chapter 8, which I'll share with you. Ramananda Roy Mora Kuti Namaskar Janamukhi Kaila Prabhu Rashada Bishtar. I offer 10 million obeisances under the lotus feet of Sri Ramananda Roy, because from his mouth much spiritual information has been expanded by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we want to speak something today about the position of Ramananda Roy and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Very, very intimate connection. Maybe we can start with a couple of verses from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is Madhya Leela chapter 8 also, which describe the first meeting, the initial meeting of Ramananda Roy and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and how Mahaprabhu embraced Ramananda Roy. He'd heard about Ramananda Roy from Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Sarvabhauma told him, he said that the kind of things that you like, you have to go, when you go to South India, you have to stop in and see Ramananda Roy. So when Mahaprabhu met Ramananda Roy, immediately, Dhrida means very firmly, Alingana, Mahaprabhu embraced him. And they almost fell unconscious. And it's a Sabhavika Prema. that the love that they had for each other was very spontaneous, it was very natural. And both of them embraced, and then they fell to the ground. So Ramananda Roy is one of the most prominent associates of Mahaprabhu in the Gambhira. And this Gambhira Leela, as we've been describing, is the essence of Gora Leela. Kaviraj Goswami describes in Ancha Leela that it was only in the Gambhira that Krishna fulfilled his three desires that he had, Shiradeha, Pranaya, Mahima, Kiddusa, Vanayaiva, etc., which is the sixth verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, one of the prominent Mangalacharna verses that Kaviraj Goswami gives, describing three reasons, Shiradeha, Pranaya, Mahima, that he came to understand the Pranaya Mahima, the glory of Radharani's love. He wanted to know what is it that Radharani was experiencing, what is it that Radharani saw in him. So those three desires were fulfilled in the Gambhira. And as we've discussed previously, when Bhagavan, the Lord, wants to enjoy some particular pastimes, then his internal potency in the form of Balaram manifests a particular dham. When he wants to enjoy Aishvarja Moya Leela, pastimes full of opulence, then Lord Balaram manifests as Vaikuntha. And then the Bhagavan manifests his form as Lord Narayan there. When the Lord wants to enjoy some pastimes which are mixed with Nara Leela and opulent pastimes, then the Lord manifests as Ayodhya or as Dwarka. And Bhagavan comes as, Jai, you made it, Jaikor. I'm happy. I'm sorry, I messed up the timing. Please forgive me. Then the Lord comes as Ramachandra or as Dwarkadish Krishna. So each time the Lord has a particular desire, there's a particular dham that comes to fulfill his desires. We spoke a little something about the nature, the place of the Gambhira. To really properly discuss that would require another session more than what I'm thinking to do. But let's just suffice to say, for those who've heard it from us quite a bit, that Jagannath Puri is Gupta Vrindavan. It's a chamber of Vrindavan where one cries in separation from Vrindavan. It's just as in Vrindavan Dham, according to Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, there's two compartments. There's the compartment of union and the compartment of separation. And the compartment of separation is a closed compartment, which is not always seen. That compartment is Jagannath Puri Dham. And just as the Balaram manifests as different dhams to fulfill the Lord's desire, similarly, the Lord's associates come in different moods. They when he wants to enjoy his Aishvarya Leela, then they come in four-armed forms of Vaikuntha. When he wants to enjoy pastimes as Mahavishnu in this world, then Sridham comes as Garuda. And they come as, some of them manifest as different demigods, according to our acharyas. When the Lord wants to enjoy his Lord Ramachandra, then his associates, many of them come in the form of monkeys and bears, etc. So in the Gambhira Leela, the prominent associates are Ramananda Raya and Sri Damodar. And it's very significant because each time the Lord manifests a pastime, his associates come in a way to perfectly enhance the particular mood that the Lord has. So Krishna's coming as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, wanting to understand the mood of Radharani. And he does that in the Gambhira, and he does it in the association of Sri Damodar and Roy Ramananda. And we heard in our last session how Sri Damodar is Lalita Sakhi. And Lalita Sakhi, understanding the mood of Radha, and being one of the Uteshwaris, one of the leaders of the gopis, she's able to convey to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna, the mood of Radha. So similarly with Ramananda Roy. Now let's look at the identity of Ramananda Roy. And again, as this is in our last session, we began with Gaura Ganadhesh Deepika. I want to do the same in this session. In text 120, Kavi Karnapur writes Priyanarma Saka Kashchid Arjuna Pandava Arjuna Nilitva Sam Bhud Ramananda Raya Prabhu Priya. The Priyanarma Saka named Arjun and Arjuna Pandava joined together and became Ramananda Roy, dear to the Lord. Goparjuna ya Sardham Ekabhuyapi Pandavaha Arjuno Yadura Roy Ramananda Ityohur Uttamaha. The highest devotees say that Ramananda Roy was Arjuna Pandava along with Arjuniya Gopi. The statement from Padma Purana describes that the Pandava Arjun became Arjuniya Gopi. And so he says all three of these personalities were Ramananda Roy. So to start off with something not exactly related to our subject today, but something everybody always wonders. And I don't really think it's such a big mystery, but how do we understand that Ramananda Roy is three different personalities in one? As I sometimes give the example, how many feet can you put in one shoe? Yeah, he's Arjun, the Pandava Arjun, the Priyanarma Saka, the friend of Krishna in Braj. He's also Arjuniya Gopi. How do we understand that? We find that different descriptions are given, but in these descriptions, generally, it's not always, the emphasis is not always that this person is physically this person, but that the mood of that person is entered into that person. It seems, I would suggest that it means avesh, that some Shakti has come into that person. Some of the Shakti from Arjun, the Panchapandava, Arjun, the Priyanarma Saka, and Arjuniya Gopi, who's non-different from Arjun, the Pandava, according to the Padma Purana. Now, this is a description given by Kavi Karnapur in Gaura-Ganadish Deepika. We had a little problem with Gaura-Ganadish Deepika in our last session about Sri Damodar Goswami. We pointed out that it was only Kavi Karnapur, apparently Kavi Karnapur in Gaura-Ganadish Deepika, who describes Sri Damodar as Vishaka. Everywhere else, everyone else says that Sri Damodar Goswami is Lalita, including Srila Prabhupada. And a similar topic we'll find today. Now, I asked our teacher, Fakir Mohan Prabhu, many years ago about Gaura-Ganadish Deepika and the fact that how he describes Ramananda Roy and Sri Damodar Goswami. And Fakir Mohan Prabhu, who was a professor of literature and studied Gaudiya literature extensively, he shared his opinion, or the opinion of some Vaishnavas, which is, take it or leave it, whatever. That opinion is that the Gaura-Ganadish Deepika had been interpolated, and we can't always depend upon all the verses, in particular about these ones. Because we see, if we look in a rare book, which was recently translated by a friend of ours, which is the Gaura-Ganasrup Tattva Chandrika, a book by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, which is very similar to the Gaura-Ganadish Deepika of Srila Kavi Karnapur. Let's see, he gives a different description, a little different description. Vishaka Samsabhuta Yashri Yutarjunika Saki Aduna Bhud Roy Ramanandas Chaitanya Vallabha. He says that the Saki called Arjunika, also known as Arjuniya, who's a plenary portion of Vishaka, has now become Ramananda Roy, beloved of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he's introducing here, we're hearing something about how Ramananda Roy is Vishaka. And this is the same thing which I'll show you a few pramanas, which is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, and also what Srila Prabhupada says. Let's look at Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is given a wonderful book called Bhagavat Arka Maricha Mala, which is kind of like the essence of the Bhagavatam. It's different verses from the Bhagavatam. And in the Mangalacharna of that book, he offers prayers to different persons, including Ramananda Roy. And here's his pranam mantra to Ramananda Roy. Yena Vishtari To Gora Kripaya Rasa Sagara. That Ramananda Roy is the personification of Mahaprabhu's mercy. He's gotten the mercy of Mahaprabhu. He's the ocean of rasa, And Vishakika Swarupam Tam. He's Vishaka Gopi. This is Ramananda Raya. And this is the same thing as Srila Prabhupada also says in his purport in Madhya Lila, Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 8, text 23. Let's bring that on the board. Prabhupada says, Srila Ramananda Raya was an incarnation of the Gopi Vishaka. Since Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was Lord Krishna himself, there was naturally an awakening of love between Vishaka and Krishna. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a combination of Srimati Radharani and Krishna, and the Gopi Vishaka is a principal Gopi assisting Srimati Radharani. Thus, a natural love between Ramananda Raya and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu awakened, and they embraced. This is a purport to one of the verses we were just reading a minute ago about the initial meeting of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Raya. So this is important for us because we want to understand Mahaprabhu's Bhajan in the Gambhira. To understand his Bhajan there, we need to understand who he's hanging out with, who are his principal associates, and what is their function in this Gambhira Leela. So we need to understand that, first of all, their ontological identity. And here we're hearing again repeatedly that Ramananda Raya is Vishaka. Jan Chandra Goswami has written a book called the Gaur Govinda Smarana Archana Padati, and in text 211 to 215, he gives some description about the Gopi Vishaka. A beautiful description. I'll show you this, and I'll just read through the translation a little bit. Which is that Vishaka is situated in the northeast petal of the Nanga Sukha de Kunj. She's very. Everybody, please mute yourself. Somebody's not muted. Maybe Krishna Kun. I don't know who. Anyway, she's very dear to Krishna. She has a bhavna of Swadina Bhatrika. Swadina Bhatrika is a heroine who controls her lover. So her service as Vishaka is dressing and decorating. She dresses and decorates Radha and Krishna. And she has a dress which resembles the stars in the evening sky. We heard in our last session how Lalita has a dress which resembles peacock feathers. Her complexion is cream colored with a tinge of red. Her age is 14 years, 2 months and 15 days. Her father's name is Pavana. Her mother's name is Dakshina. And her husband's name is Bahuka. She's an Adhika Madhya, which means she's kind of in between the left-wing and right-wing gopis in her mood. Lalita is a left-wing gopi. She's very, very angry. And Chandravali is a right-wing gopi. She's very, very gentle. And Vishaka kind of goes between both. And he says here, Gaurasi Puna, Roy Ramanataya, Vikyata Bhut Kalo Yuge, that in Kali Yuga, Vishaka appears as Ramananda Raya. So these are some important points to meditate on. It is something about the form and description. Rupa Goswami gives quite a bit of a description also in his Radha Krishna Ganesh Deepika about the form of Lalita and Vishaka and the other gopis and all the associates of Mahaprabhu. Actually, the Gaur Ganesh Deepika, Radha Krishna Ganesh Deepika, is a very nice book to read for understanding about Braj Leela. Another book which is very good too is Braj Leela Stava by Raghunath Das Goswami. And I didn't have time in this session to collect what he said. He offers prayers to all the different associates, and he has prayers also to Vishaka and Lalita. Anyway, in Radha Krishna Ganesh Deepika, in the first half of the book, it's divided in 2 sections. Text number 79. Rupa Goswami says, Lalita cha Vishaka cha chitra champa kalavika tunda vidya indriya leka cha Ranga Devi Sudevika. He mentions the different Varishta Sakis, or Varishta means the topmost, the most prominent Sakis, the Asta Sakis. Lalita, Vishaka, Chitra, Champakalata, Tungavidya, Induleka, Ranga Devi, and Sudevi. And we heard something about Lalita in our last session. She's the most prominent amongst all the gopis. She's very similar to the mood of Radharani. She's 27 days older than Radharani. Then Vishaka is mentioned. Vishaka tra vitiya syat ekachara guna brata priyasakya janir yatra tatraisa budita kshane. She's the second Vitiya of these Varishta gopis. And in her guna, in her mood, her brata, she's just like Ekachara guna. She's just the same as Srimati Radharani in serving Krishna. And she's born exactly at the same moment that Radharani was born. That's Vishaka Saki. Vishaka Navata Bhadra Priya Narma Saki Mata Akanda Kshina Mantreyam Govinde Narma Karmata Parigyatarta Hridaya Buddhi Dutyaika Kovida Samni Kandar Vikopaye Dhani Bede Cha Pisala. The Vishaka has a blooming youth. She's Bhadra, she's very, very auspicious. Navata Bhadra, she's a personification, the highest auspiciousness. She's a Priyanarma Saki. It's also known as a Parma Preshta Saki or a Varisha Saki. Again, the topmost of the Sakis. And she's expert in all different areas. She's very particular. Parigyatarta Hridaya. She's very, very learned. Buddhi Dutyaika Kovida. She's expert in giving advice. Dutyaika Kovida. And she speaks joking words, Krishna's presence. So she understands the sentiments of Radha and Krishna skillfully, and she knows how to bring Krishna, the hero, to the heroine. So this is the function of Vishaka, and this is the function of Ramananda Roy. We want to understand Ramananda Roy and Gaura Leela. We have to look back a little bit and see what's behind the curtain. Who is Ramananda Roy and Krishna Leela, and what is his mood, and why has Vishaka come as Ramananda Roy? Because Vishaka is one of the prominent teachers, of advice givers to both Srimati Radharani and Krishna. We hear in Chaitanya Charitamrita in Antya-lila chapter 15 that it's Swarup Damodar Goswami and Ramananda Roy who are always with Mahaprabhu. Say Duijan, these two persons, Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami says that these two persons, Prabhure Kore Svasana. Svasana means that they knew how to pacify the Lord. They knew how to exactly enhance whatever the mood of the Lord was. And they would do that by Ramananda Roy singing songs and with Swarup Damodar Goswami singing songs and Roy Ramananda speaking Shastra, quoting particular verses. So this is the role of Vishaka and Ramananda Roy. We find a hint of this in Raghunath Das Goswami's Manasiksha, in the 9th verse. Let's look at that real quick. Madisha Natatve Braja Vipina Chandram Brajavaneshwarim Tanatatve Tadatula Sakitve Tulalitam Vishakam Sikshali Vitarana Gurutve Priyasuro Girindro Tat Preksha Lalita Rati Datve Smaramana. So in particular, this verse is speaking about the position of Lalita and Vishaka and Krishna Leela. And he's saying that we meditate on Lalita, who's Atula Sakitve. She's the incomparable friend of Radha and Krishna, and of Radharani in particular. And Vishakam Sikshali Vitana Gurutve. We meditate on Vishaka as the topmost of all the gurus, Vitarna Gurutve, the foremost guru, because she's teaching about love to Radha and Krishna. This is the position of Vishaka. And I think it's very significant that Raghunath Das Goswami has written this in his Manasiksha, because Raghunath Das Goswami, as we mentioned before, is known as Swarupa Raghu. He is the follower of Sri Damodar Goswami. He was present in the Gambhira with Ramananda Raya and Sri Damodar Goswami. So he knows when he writes these verses in Manasiksha, he's speaking about Radha and Krishna. Definitely he's also thinking about Lalita and Radha and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as being Sri Damodar Goswami and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we also hear from different acharyas, Baladi Vidyabhushan being one, that Vishaka and the Jamuna River are non-different. Vishaka, Jamuna, Vapo, Iti, Vicharina, Yamuna Stutya, Tat Stutir, Iti, Vidyabhushana. Baladi Vidyabhushan offers this comment. He says that the Jamuna, if you offer prayers to the Jamuna, you're also offering prayers to Vishaka. Vishaka is non-different. The Jamuna River is her body. So Shivaram Maharaj comments on this some time back. I thought it was very nice in some classes he was giving on Manasiksha. Let me go ahead and highlight what he said. He said that the word Vishaka, we meditate on Vishaka, who is the guru who teaches, as in the relationship between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Roy. Ramananda Roy Maharaj said is Vishaka. In that relationship, Ramananda Roy is teaching Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Krishna, how to be in the mood of Srimati Radharani, and so many things, such as the development of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's manifestation of Bhav. Up until the meeting with Ramananda Roy, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was not able to enter into full Radha Bhav because he can't get it unless he gets it from Radharani's associates. So just like sometimes people ask, do I have to go through Guru to get Krishna? Answer is yes. Just like Krishna has to go through Guru in order to get to Radharani. So even Krishna has to learn that process from Ramananda Roy. That's why it's called Siksha. Vishaka gives the divine couple so many instructions. So Lalita and Vishaka are two of the foremost gopis. So when Krishna came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he had this desire. He wanted to understand the mood of Radharani. But our acharyas have described that Radharani's mood is unlimited. And how can Krishna, even though Krishna is also unlimited, and even though Krishna is Sarvagya, Krishna knows everything, there's one thing that he can't know, and that's the mood of Radharani, because it's so unlimited. It defeats even Krishna. So he was confused. How am I going to understand the mood of Srimati Radharani? So to understand the mood of Radha, Krishna empowered different associates to come. And primarily it was Lalita and Vishaka, because Lalita and Vishaka, they know the intimate moods of Radharani. And so we see Ramananda, Lalita, who's often a left-wing gopi, who's very angry with Krishna, is always encouraging Radharani to chastise Krishna and be angry with Krishna. In a similar way, Sri Damodar Goswami sings many songs to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to help him to understand the mood of Radha. And those are songs which evoke some loving sulkiness, some man. So similarly, Ramananda Roy, then he's teaching Mahaprabhu about Bhagavatam. He's teaching him on the bank of the Godavari River. And by doing that, he's helping Krishna to understand the mood of Srimati Radharani. I'd like to turn at this point to the Harinam Chintamani. And this is the first chapter of Harinam Chintamani, which kind of sets the role. I'm not going to read these first verses, but in the very beginning, this is the very first verses of this begins the second verse of Harinam Chintamani. He speaks about the place, because the place we have to, the place is going to be very, very important in our discussion about Harinam Chintamani. And he speaks about Jagannath Puri. On the bank of the ocean, there's Jagannath, his daughter Brahma, and he's giving his darshan to everybody in the world. And this in the same Dham, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu manifested. He came in the form of a sannyasi, and Kashi Mishra Gadi Adishtan. he set up his residence in the house of Kashi Misha. So this is our topic. We want to understand the Gambhira Bhajan, the bhajan that Mahaprabhu was doing in the house of Kashi Misha. And then significantly, Bhaktivinoda Thakur goes on and he says, Nija Bhakta Brindaloy, Nija Bhakta, along with his devotees, his intimate devotees, Nija Kopataru Hoy, he gave out this love of God, just like a Kopa Briksha tree gives out. So he compares those devotees in this way to a Kopa Briksha tree. Krishna Prema Dena Sarvajani. He's giving this Krishna Prema through these devotees who are like a Kopa Briksha tree to all living entities. And he says how he did that. Nana Mate Bhakta Muke Bhakta Kata Suni Suke Jiva Siksha Dena Suyatane. Mahaprabhu did that, although he knows everything. He's a source of all knowledge. He came in the mood of a devotee, and to teach us what it means to be a devotee, that we should hear from other devotees. He heard Nana Mati Bhakta Mukhi from the mouth of different devotees. Bhakta Kata Sonisuke, he came as a student. Although he's Bhagavan himself, he's a speaker of Veda and Vedanta, he's a knower of Veda Vedanta. And he came and he taught us to so many different devotees. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he comments on this in Harinam Chintamani. How through the mouth of Ramananda Raya, well, let's start with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Through the mouth of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Mahaprabhu sat down and he listened to him and he learned about Mukti Tattva. From Gopal Guru Goswami, who was a young boy in Jagannath Puri, Mahaprabhu learned something about doing bhajan. From Rupa Goswami in Jagannath Puri, Mahaprabhu learned from him about Rasa Tattva. From Haridas Thakur, Siddha Bakul, Mahaprabhu learned from him about Nam Tattva. And from the mouth of Ramananda Raya in the Godavari, and also in Jagannath Puri, Mahaprabhu hears about Sadhya Sadhana Tattva. And that's the whole discussion of Madhya Lila chapter 8 in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is the essence of the teachings of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And it's such a very, very important subject matter there that Ramananda Raya, he's coming, Mahaprabhu was approaching him and hearing from him. And we heard in their first meeting immediately, they embraced each other, they recognized each other, and they fell unconscious. And Ramananda Raya begins speaking to Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu begins asking him, so what is the topmost thing? And this conversation, we should understand, first of all, someone may say, well, this conversation is going on. It's meant for the benefit of all the living entities. Well, certainly that's there. But you can't ignore the fact that Kaviraj Goswami says that in the beginning of that discussion that Mahaprabhu was uncomfortable. And he waited until there was a time when the Brahmins and the associates of Ramananda Raya who were with him were no longer around. And it was just Ramananda Raya and himself. And then at that time, they began to have their discussion. And so this is Krishna. He's meeting his old, very intimate associate, Vishaka, for the first time in a long, long time. And Vishaka is discussing, is giving instructions, teaching. And Vishakam Sikshali is teaching Krishna's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he teaches him all. Mahaprabhu asks him what is the best thing. And he begins by speaking about Varnashram Dharma. And Mahaprabhu says, Eho Bhaya Agikaha Ar, that's external. Can you say something more? And then he says, yes, that Brahmabhuta Prasanatmana Sochatina Kangshati, being on the Brahmabhuta platform, that's the best thing. That leads to bhakti. And Mahaprabhu says, no, Eho Bhaya, this is also external. Can you say something more? And finally, Ramananda Raya says, Sarva Dharma Parityagya. Mahaprabhu says again, no, this is also external. Can you say something more? And then finally, Ramananda Raya begins to speak about relationships with the Lord. Now, sometimes devotees, just as a footnote, question how is it that the Sarva Dharma Parityagya verse is external? in itself, it's bland. It's vanilla. It doesn't really have any flavor. It's like a generic medicine or something. It you surrender, but what does it mean to surrender? Who are we? So Mahaprabhu wasn't fully satisfied with that. Yes, we should surrender, but how should we surrender? And then Ramananda Raya begins to speak about different rasas, and Mahaprabhu begins to accept that until finally begins to speak about the gopis and then Srimati Radharani and the very intimate pastimes of Radha and Krishna. And finally, Mahaprabhu is praising him, and Ramananda Raya says this very significant statement. Aminata tumi shucha tar. I'm just a dancing puppet. Jia mata nacho taiche chahi nachi bar. You're pulling the strings, and whatever way you make me dance, I'll dance. Mora jiva, my tongue, vina yantra. It's just like a stringed instrument. Tumi vina dari, and you're the player, the vina dari of that instrument. And so tomara mane je ute tahai uchari. I just vibrate whatever arises in your mind. This is the exalted position of Ramananda Raya, that he's completely empowered by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on one level. But on another level, in a deeper way, it's Ramananda Raya who is empowering Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by teaching him about the mood of Srimati Radharani, which is something that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Krishna can't understand. So because Vishaka is such an intimate associate of Srimati Radharani, it's required. Just like we give the example sometimes if we're doing a drama and we want to play Krishna Balaram Prabhu in the drama. So I go to Krishna Balaram Prabhu and I say, Krishna Balaram Prabhu, I'm going to play you in a drama. And can you tell me what is your inner moods and your ecstasies? And Krishna Balaram Prabhu may just tell me, look, would you just like go away and leave me alone? I don't have any ecstasies or something. He might say something like that. He's a very humble devotee. So if I want to really understand him, I have to go to some intimate associates, some very close friends who might know him even better than he knows himself. So this is Lalita and Vishaka. They know Radharani even better than she might know herself. And they've come as the teachers to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, both for Bahiranga Karan and Antaranga Karan, an external and internal reason. An external reason to teach us that as devotees, we should hear from devotees, to teach us that if we want to approach Srimati Radharani, we have to approach her associates, to teach us that if we want to learn about Radha and Krishna, we should hear from Ramananda Raya and Sri Damodar Goswami, which we're doing through Raghunath Das Goswami, in turn through Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, and Antaranga Karan, an internal lesson also, that Krishna, if he wants to learn about the mood of Radharani, is not just a preaching thing, but if he himself wants to learn about that, then he has to go to the proper persons and he has to become their students. So now I'd like to share something else with you, a little bit of a rare thing. This is a translation from a book called Nilachali Braja Madhuri. Now, this is by an associate of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Natalia asked the question, was Prabhupada inspired by Ramananda Roy's speech while writing Makim Bhagavat Dharma? I would say definitely that you can see something of that in there. And it's a very famous thing. And before Prabhupada came to America, Prabhupada translated this Madhya Lila chapter 8, and it wasn't ever published. It was lost for, I don't know, like 40 years or more or something. And finally, Jagat Guru Maharaj, he discovered it when he was staying in Prabhupada's rooms at the Radha Damodar temple. And they published that book later. Prabhupada in that book says some things, I'm not going there today, but he says some similar things that we were already reading about how Ramananda Raya is Vishaka and how he's teaching Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it was a book that was very much on Prabhupada's mind just before he came to America. So now let's turn to Nilachale Braja Madhuri by with Sikh Mohan Vidyabhushan. This is a translation. And he speaks about the Maharas and how on one night, which probably would have been the first night of the month of Kartik, which was yesterday, the Purnima. It says actually on the full moon night of Kartik, Mahaprabhu went to the Gundicha garden. Or maybe some of you have been inside the Gundicha garden with us. We can't always go inside. They don't always allow Videshi devotees inside. But inside is a very wonderful garden. And with so many different trees and things. And that beauty of all the trees and vines and things there today is such a wonderful garden. It really evokes a mood of Vrindavan. And he speaks something about the different types of trees. There's betel trees, there's a date tree, tall trees, coconut trees, and Priyala Palasa, Amna mango, Panasa, jackfruit, fig trees, Kobidar, Ashvata. Very, very old trees, very, very wonderful trees. And still today, there are many wonderful old trees present there. And he goes on and on, Jambu, Arka, Bilva, Boko, Kadamba, Nipa, Nimba, many, many other trees. It's evergreen place in the Lapsal. Remind the devotees' hearts of the sweetness of Braja's forests. The abundance of flowery trees and vines increase the beauty of this forest 100 times. At some places, there's fresh sprouts and fragrant buds, soft pods of blossoming flowers, beautify the trees and vines. In different places, Gundicha is the embodiment of the Tulsi forest in purity, awakens a pure, tender, and holy feeling of this black garden treasure. The tree abodes are the images of the sacred hermitages of India's ever glorious holy men. Mahaprabhu took his intimate associates into this tree abode in a solitary corner of the garden. On all four sides were Tulsi gardens, and different small and large flower trees. Beside the abode, on the southern side, were some bakul, tamal, and chatima trees. On the eastern side was a relatively uncovered abode facing the east. Mahaprabhu sat on the base of the bakul tree and told Ramananda Roy, Ram Roy, I want to hear some Ras Leela from your mouth. But am I qualified to hear Ras Leela? Such qualification only arises as a result of many austerities. How many austerities are there? But not all austerities grant access to understanding the Ras Leela. I think that unless the heart is pure, satisfied, tender, and radiant through the loving and delicious worship of the Lord, along with the desire to hear the Ras Leela, is just a mockery. I am a dry renunciate. I am not qualified. Despite knowing this, I still yearn to hear the Ras Leela. There is no place where desire cannot go. Can I attain qualification for this? It reminds me of a lecture Srila Prabhupada gave in 1968 in Los Angeles to a group of very, very new devotees. And Madhudvesa Prabhu was there. And Prabhupada mentioned it was the first day of Kartik, Purnima, day of the Ras Leela. And Madhudvesa asked Prabhupada, can you say something to us about the meaning of the Ras Leela? It's a very interesting lecture. And Prabhupada said, oh, this is a very high thing. You're not qualified to hear this. I'm not qualified to speak this. And then all of a sudden, Prabhupada just started speaking about the Ras Leela and the meaning of it and how Krishna's dancing with different gopis and like that. It is something we should hear about. It is something we should know about. And Prabhupada engaged different disciples in making paintings of the Ras Leela. And also wrote in his Krishna book about the Ras Leela and wanted that Krishna book distributed to everyone. So it's something we should know something about at least. But as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was saying here, Prabhupada also felt very humble, very shy about speaking about it in public. So Ramananda Roy then, he said, is the glory of the servant increased in this manner? I'm just your servant. So you want me to speak? This fallen sense enjoyer is the unqualified servant of your lotus feet. These truths are hidden to him. This is a mere deception. You're deceiving me. Perhaps your talk on humility and qualification are a mere pretext to teach people at large. Then Mahaprabhu says, Sarup, Premamoya Shamsundar has revealed this delicious pastime in the flowery arbors in the groves of Vrindavan to fulfill his desire to be with the young girls of Braj. How captivating is this great meeting! What a great wave in a deluge of delight. Can anyone stay calm and not dance in ecstasy? Sarup, the Ras Leela is a great, great love festival full of dance. A high tidal wave in the boundless and deep ocean of ecstasy. This ecstasy is indescribable. It cannot be described. You and Ramananda must find a way to make me relish even one drop of this ecstasy. And if you can do that, I'll be eternally indebted to you. And Ramananda Roy then laughed and said, you take shelter of my throat and speak through me. And he quoted this, Mora Jiva Vina Yamcha Tumi Vina Dari Tomara Moni Jad Ute Tahan Uchari. My tongue is a Vina instrument, you're the Vina player. Whatever arises in your mind, I'll pronounce. This is the intimacy of Ramananda Roy and Sri Damodar, who would be Shaka and Lalita. They understand the mind of Krishna and what it is that Krishna wants to know about Srimati Radharani, the mood of Radharani. So immediately they express that. And Mahaprabhu then, he replies that when the girls of Vrindavan hear the flute, they become agitated and they come into the forest to see Shyam. What do you say, Ram Roy? Ram Roy says, yes, Prabhu, the flute is Krishna's own messenger. Can anyone ever remain calm when Shyamasundari's flute resounds? The stones melt, the Jamuna flows upwards, the trees and vines have goosebumps, and even the animals and birds of the forest become attracted to Shyam's lotus feet. The course of the sun, the moon, and the stars is stopped, and the entire universe resounds with this sweet sound. He says, how can the girls of Braj then still remain calm? And Ramananda Roy says, yes, Prabhu. Even when no one in this universe can hear this sound, they still become moved by it. They are housewives under a vow to stay calmly at home, but when they hear this flute, it becomes impossible to keep this vow. So this is just, I just wanted to share this with you to give you a little taste of some of the exchanges between Ramananda Roy and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And trying to understand something about the very important position that Ramananda Roy has in Gaura Leela. So I think I'll go ahead and stop there. And devotees may have some comments or questions. We can go ahead and do that. Yeah, some devotees are asking me to share this pranam mantra. We'll do that. I also have another little bit of nectar here. Maybe let's just go through this real quick. I think you'll like this. This is something we translated for the first time from some Pajavali Kirtan. I give a little introduction to this. We wrote this was something we printed in Bindu magazines. And traditionally, Gaudiya poets usually put their name at the end of the last verse of their compositions as a kind of a signature. But it's not uncommon also for them to write anonymously, and they just give a general name for themselves, like Krishna Das. And the author of this song identifies himself as Dina Dvija, the fallen Brahmin, but we don't find any historical mention of a poet by that name. This is a very old song. It's sung in some of the oldest Gaudiya Pajavali Kirtans, and it's a song glorifying Ramananda Roy. Jai Re Jai, Piditi Ratanala, Ram Roy Rasada Saga, Apani Chaitanya Jahi, Manasadi Avagahi, Rasamadi Nagari Nagari. All glories to Sri Ram Roy, the ocean. You should get this song, Jai Gaura, and you should show this to Ram Roy Prabhu. All glories to Sri Ram Roy. Jai Gaura is doing kirtan with Ram Roy Prabhu, New York City. The ocean transcendental melodies in the abode of rasa. By his own will, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, mad for rasa, happily took bath in that ocean. Gaura Prema Rasa Gana Bhavananda Mandana Jaya Jaya Ramananda Roy. All glories of Ramananda Roy is a condensed form of Gaura Prema Ras and the son of Bhavananda Roy. Out of his mercy, he appeared in the village of Bentapur, near to Amarnath. And some of you have been there with us before. He whose name is Sri Krishna Chaitanya is none other than Sri Radha Raman. To bring pleasure to him, the beautiful Vishaka appeared in this world as Ramananda Roy. In his childhood, Ramananda Roy would constantly shed tears from his eyes while singing Radha and Krishna's glories. He would do nothing but act out the loving affairs of the divine couple, regularly making new groves, Niti Nava Nikunja Rachai, for their pastimes. Kaisho Yeti Alpadine, during his teenage years, saw just in a few, very quickly, Alpadine, in very few days, Sarva Shastri Adhyayana. He studied all the scriptures, Supandita Pradhan. He became Pandit Pradhan, the chief of all the Pandits. Bhakti Siddhanta Kani, he's a reservoir of Bhakti Siddhanta. Rasika Mukuti Mani, the conclusive truth of devotion. Nijaguni Jagat Jini, he conquered over the universe with his wonderful qualities. Patiparudra Maharaja, Janilena Jagamaja, Ramananda Apurva Ratana. Maharaj Patiparudra recognized the position of Ramananda Roy, and Karibata Rajakaja, he gave him, Kaj means some work, he gave him this position of being the king or in charge of this kingdom. Ekadina Subhakshani Godavari Nadisnani. One day, at an auspicious moment when he went to take bath in the Godavari river, Ramananda Roy, when he's taking his bath, he's meditating on his worshipful deity, Navagana Sham, beautiful Krishna. But every time he tried to think of Sham, Shamarupa Hari Bhari, Yatike Yatanakori, Tate Hare Godavarna. He saw someone else with a golden complexion. Ajanulambita Bhuja, Ekanava Nyasi Raja Rasa Bhupa, Manasa Mohan. He saw that personality who's the youthful king of all the sannyasis, Nyasi Raj. He had long arms, Ajanulambuta Bhuja, Rasa Bhupa Manasa Mohan. He's full of rasa, and his beauty enchanted the mind. Gora Rupi Alokari, Hridi Simhasanupari, Vasipuri Saivasvaharana. Sitting in Ramananda Roy's heart, that sannyasi was stealing everything because he's stealing the mood of Radharani and spreading a golden effulgence. Ramananda became agitated and opened his eyes, and then he saw right in front of him, sitting on the bank of the river, a sannyasi who was chanting Krishna's name and stealing everyone's heart. His body was as effulgent as hundreds of suns. His complexion was the color of molten gold, dressed in saffron cloth with soft lotus-like eyes and kadamba flower-like eruptions of ecstasy in his body. His blissful form was all attractive. Heriya Sannyasi Vadi, Dari Raji Dari Tepari. When Ramananda Roy saw that sannyasi, Daya Raja Dari Tepari, he couldn't keep his patience. He became very agitated. Mana Prana Hoila Uchatana. His heart, Prana Pani Pranatani, began to drag him. And he submitted himself, Korilena Atma Samarpana. He surrendered to the lotus feet, Asipadi Sricharani, that sannyasi. And that sannyasi, Krishna, Krishna, Kaha Boli, Alingita Kuta Hali, he was chanting Krishna, Krishna, then he embraced Ramananda with great ecstasy. And he asked him, Puchi, Tumi Ramananda, are you Ramananda? Tena Kahi, say how? Ramananda said, yes. Charane Sharana Chow, Tavadasa Dhamma, Sudramanda, I'm your following servant, the Sudra. Charane Sharana Chow, I beg shelter at your lotus feet. Nyasi Mani Tusunia, when that precious jewel of the sannyasis heard that, he embraced Ramananda Roy to his heart. And due to their natural love, both of them fell to the ground, unconscious. Kampa Ashri Pulaka Gai, Donhe, Bhumi Gadi Jai, Vishmaya Mani Sabajani. They began shaking and trembling and rolling on the ground. And everybody who saw that was stunned. And this way, Mahaprabhu, he met, he's the ocean of Prema Rasa, Rasa Prema Sindhu Jani, Roya Tarangini Mile. Tarangini means a wave. That Mahaprabhu is the ocean of Rasa, and Ramananda Roy is one of the waves of that ocean. And this is the way they met. And that night they stayed in the Brahmin's house in the bank of the Godavari, and Mahaprabhu listened while Ramananda Roy spoke. And he gives a beautiful analogy. He says, Prema Sindhu Gora Roy, Roy Mega Badishai, Sindhu Tahe Ratna Aloy Hoyla. That when the cloud of Ramananda Roy poured rain on the Gora ocean, that ocean became the reservoir of precious gems, because Shastra says that when certain types of rain land on the ocean, then it creates gems in the bottom of the ocean. So Mahaprabhu, that ocean became a reservoir of gems. And when Ramananda Roy began to speak this verse, Palahilena, began with the words Pahilehi, which speaks about the mood when Radha and Krishna become one. At that time, Mahaprabhu covered Ramananda Roy's hand with his mouth. And then after the talks, Ramananda Roy submitted to Mahaprabhu, you've given such wonderful things to me. Through me, I couldn't even imagine these things. And although in Kali Yuga, taking the dress of a sannyasi, now I see you. My Guru used to quote this verse quite often. Ebi Hari Shama Gopa Roop. I see you now as in the form of Sham Sundar, blackish cowherd boy. You're bent in three places and holding a flute to your mouth. So Ramananda Roy is Vishaka, and Vishaka knows Radha and Krishna. But one thing, Vishaka had seen Radharani, she's seen Krishna, but she's never seen Radha and Krishna becoming one. And so when, as Ramananda Roy, he saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he saw Mahaprabhu suddenly become Krishna, and then he saw Radharani there, and then he saw the two of them become one. At that point, Ramananda Roy fainted. And according to the Mahant, I can't recall his name, he came to our house a couple of years ago in Jagannath Puri, the Mahant of the Jagannath Vallabha Gardens, Mutt in Puri. The tradition there has it that after this discussion on the bank of the Godavari, Mahaprabhu, we know, requested Ramananda Roy that you should come to Jagannath Puri and stay with me. And according to them, Ramananda Roy came and stayed there at Jagannath Vallabha Gardens, and he worshipped some deities who were there. Let's see, I think we've got some pictures of those deities. And it was there that Ramananda Roy, according to him, when Mahaprabhu arrived from South India, Ramananda Roy was already present, and Mahaprabhu stayed there with Ramananda Roy for 2 weeks or something. It was during that time that Ramananda Roy wrote the book Jagannath Vallabha Natakam. Let's see here. I'll show you a few pictures in the collection. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the vision that Ramananda Roy had of Radha and Krishna becoming one, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And here's in the bank of the Godavari, the old rare picture of Mahaprabhu hearing from Ramananda Roy. These are the original deities of Jagannath Baladev Subhadra who are about. These deities, if Lila Purushottam is present here, and maybe he sees us later on, these deities are bigger than your deities. These deities are about, I don't know, maybe 5 feet high. Very, very big deities of Lord Jagannath. They're still present there today. And let's see. These are the shalograms which they say were worshipped by Ramananda Roy in Jagannath Vallabha Gardens. And this is a deity of Lord Nrsingadev in the center, and of Ramananda Roy and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu there in Jagannath Vallabha Gardens. So according to the tradition there in Jagannath Vallabha Gardens, Ramananda Roy was staying there at Jagannath Vallabha Gardens, which is, I don't know, maybe a half an hour walk away from the Gambhira, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was staying primarily at night with sometimes Raghunath Das Goswami, mostly with Govinda, and sometimes with Sri Damodar Goswami. Sometimes Roy Ramananda would also stay there. And these two personalities, Roy Ramananda and Sri Damodar Goswami, were teaching Krishna in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about the mood of Srimati Radharani. So we're going to go ahead and stop there. I hate to think what time it is right now for Vikram Keshe. Maybe some of the devotees have some comments or reflections. There's a couple of things here which Jai Gore. When are we going to get these amazing books from Bhajan publication? Chali Bhajan, Gambhira, Shigaranga, Gibyo Mata by Dr. Vilas. Perhaps you're trying to insert some insights and Purva Raga into these topics. Yeah, we got to get to work on it. We've got a lot of work to do. There's a lot of wonderful books that I want to publish. They have nicely edited. Some of them are so nice we just can't resist. We share with some of the devotees sometimes. Okay, anybody have any reflections you want to share before we stop for the night? Funny type of believe, is that your finger you're holding up? Would you like to share something? Unmute yourself, please.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. I am here in Hungary for visiting my original country, like my homeland, and I found that some senior devotees have very nice mood, and then we started to associate with them. So today, when you mentioned this conversation between Ramananda Raya and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I was just thinking that maybe this kind of conversation could we have also, like 2 or 3 person comes together, and then we put this kind of questions to each other, and we have this discussion, and then we can go further and further and deeper and deeper. And I think that would be a beautiful sangha.
Yeah.
So I think that we can learn from this mood, how Lord Chaitanya builds up a sangha.
The essence of things is that the members of the Sangha have to be very intimate. They have to have faith in each other. And the foundation of the Sangha has to be Krishna Katha. And I see this, I don't know, some devotees had the good fortune of getting to read with Shivaram Maharaj. Sometimes I've been with Shivaram Maharaj and Niranjan Maharaj or with Devamrita Maharaj. And it's very much like that. There's some formality. There's some reading, but it's also spontaneous. The devotees also, they ask questions, there's some discussion of things. And it's a very, very sweet Sangha. And this is actually part of it. We'll speak about this in 2 sessions from now, the final session about Gambhira Bhajan. But this is the nature of Mahaprabhu's Gambhira Bhajan, that it's such a sweet, intimate Sangha like this. And it's something that you can't legislate. It's something that you can't just make a rule about it or we're going to teach like this. The best thing we can do, we can try to encourage devotees to have a mood like that. And if we hear the Bhagavatam, we begin to create something like that. But it requires maturity, both as individuals, and maturity in terms of our relationships. Maturity meaning both in terms of our own personal understanding, maturity in terms of our Christian consciousness, our focus on Krishna. Because a lot of times we don't have devotees. There's some discussion, we just start talking about pizza and popcorn or something. Anyway, I hope we get to see you before we get. When are you going back to
I'm going to Budapest now, and then I hope I can visit Lila Purushottam Prabhu next weekend.
Next weekend?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Please come.
That's really exciting. Yeah, we may. We're considering it, but probably won't be that soon.
Did you get your visa to India?
No, but we haven't been refused, and we've got some of the top devotees in ISKCON and ISKCON. And what we were told is that the minister, the top person of the whole government, we're going to speak to him about it, and he's on vacation until the 30th. So we're hoping something, some miracle may happen, and maybe the other other miracle will happen. We get a ticket or something, and we can be in Jagannath Puri in 10 days or something. But it would take a miracle. We have no ticket. We have no visa yet. And we don't know what's going to happen. We're staying here in Debrecen, but we have to leave now.
I hope.
So we may go to, if we have to stay the winter again, we may go to Czech for a little bit. We may stay there.
Or in Debrecen.
Debrecen, we won't be able to stay.
No.
We've been here. They've given us a place for 1 year now.
Oh.
We've been really, really comfortable.
Let's see. Thank you.
Someplace in the farm. Thank you. Anybody else with any reflections? Jaguar's got his hand up. Jaguar, you want to share something?
Yeah, Prabhu. I'm really happy I was able to take part. I was really appreciating.
Harinam's going on right now, isn't it?
It's Sunday, so we do kirtan in the temple room, and we start later. So we start at 4, but for Kartik we started doing 7 or 8 hours a day. So the rest of the days we're doing 7 or 8 hours of Harinam. That's nice.
So you have some comment?
Yeah, I like how you shared from Shri Ramaraj comment that that Mahaprabhu didn't fully attain Radhabhav until he met Ramananda Roy. I was feeling like it's an important kind of, for me, it's pramanam that in defending Puri as Gupta Vrindavan, because I noticed between the different Dhamvasis, there's always some kind of like little bit of tension. I remember you go to Govardhan retreat, and I was there, and there's you're speaking about Mahaprabhu, but the Brajbasis there, they're feeling like, no, this Vrindavan is topmost, and like that pastime you share with Ayendra Prabhu often, I think it's very sweet. So, but yeah, I was happy to hear that from Shri Ram Maharaj. And also, I really like, was it Ramananda Roy was compared to a wave on the ocean, and Mahaprabhu was the ocean? Is that the bhajan? It reminded me, I read something in Jaiva Dharma. Actually, I posted in a group chat, but I was wondering if I could share it here. It reminded me of exactly this. He was saying, this is Vijay Kumar. He's on his way to Gopal Guru Goswami, and he's seeing the ocean. Let's see. He says, Krishna, who is imbued with the luster of a fresh monsoon rain cloud, is the exclusive lord of my life's breath. Srimati Radhika, the daughter of Rishabhanu Maharaj, who keeps her gorgeous presence at Krishna's side, is the be-all and end-all of my very existence. This ocean is the transformation of Radha and Krishna's intimate love. So he's seeing the ocean in Puri, and it's like he's seeing all the parts of the ocean as just like Udipanas for his love for Radha and Krishna. He says, the rows of waves are the different types of bhav that combine to comprise rasa itself. I am a Saki on the shore, and the manifold waves rising up in this ocean are bhavas which drown me in prema rasa. Krishna is the ocean of rasa, and that's why the color of the ocean is exactly like his. The waves of love in that ocean are Srimati Radhaji, and that is why the ocean waves are white. The high towering waves are the Sakis. So that's what you reminded me of this, because you said Ramananda Roy is a wave. And the small waves are their maidservants. Among them, I'm a follower of a paricharika, like a particle of spray on a distant shore. And that was really sweet.
It's really beautiful. Thank you so much. Yeah. I just shared this thing on WhatsApp so devotees could read what you were reading from at the same time.
Yeah.
Thank you, Guruji. Anything more?
Thank you. I hope I can continue hearing with you on Sundays. That's all.
Let's see. Hare Krishna. And let's see, Vikram Keshari Prabhu. Just saying thank you. I imagine he has to go take rest. It's pretty late. Okay, anybody else with any reflections or anything you'd like to share? Chaitanya Prabhu, do you want to summarize anything? Go ahead and finish.
I love the connection that
Krishna Kunshanksan, come close.
just one sentence that I love this connection that you made between Mana Shikshana and Vishakam Shikshana. I haven't really thought about that referring to Ramananda Roy's service in the Gambhira.
How else could what else would Radha Goswami be thinking about?
But I'm just
All right. Anybody else with anything? Okay. Jai Krishna Prabhu, can you share something?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, my pranams. Thank you for the class. It was really nice. I was really appreciating Ramananda Roy's mood of humility when even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is asking him as a disciple. In one sense, he's giving Ramananda Roy the position of guru, but still Ram.
Prabhuji, you stopped. It's like your connection froze or something. Okay, wait for a moment. Jai Krishna, but we can't hear you anymore. Now you're back.
Yeah, I think where did I stop?
Maybe you should turn off your camera. Just
humility. We said humility, appreciating his humility.
Yeah, you froze again. I suggest you turn off your camera.
Okay. So just appreciate. Oh, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just appreciating that humility, that even though he was taking the position of guru in a sense, giving instruction to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he always really addressed him in a very respectful way. And you mentioned the last time when we spoke that you would always address your Guru Maharaj as your divine grace. And I just really like that humility around Guru at all times.
Yeah, our relationship with Guru is based on gratitude, appreciation. It's not just, as we often quote, the Surya saying, Kona Funka Guru, which means someone who just spits in the ear. Guru is not just that, but Guru Dev is that person who's Ashraya Datta. He gives us shelter. And Ashraya also is the final, we were hearing from Bhakti Began Maharaj, with 10 different subject matters in the Bhagavatam. The topmost is Ashraya. The Bhagavatam is shelter. And Gurudev is giving us that. He's giving us the Bhagavatam. He's giving us shelter of Krishna. And thank you, Prabhu. Okay. Anybody else want to share anything? Chaitanya Prabhu? You kind of holding your hand up.
I'm good from my side, Prabhu. I do appreciate the exchanges between Ramananda Roy, but I'm still digesting a few of the elements on my end personally. But it's very sweet.
Well, thank you. Nice to have you guys at Sangha. This is really what I want to try to do is what we were speaking about in the beginning, is we want to try to have very sweet sanghas with the devotees. Krishna Kun and I were talking today, and we were both kind of saying we're like seeing the end of our life. We could see leaving our bodies, maybe not in not so long distant future. And then, how do we just went to visit a friend who's had a heart attack, and he actually died twice. Clinically, his heart stopped twice. And this devotee has been a friend of ours here in Debrecen, has been helping us with our health, actually, in different ways, taking us to doctors and doing things. And so we were talking about this on the way back, and what we'd like to try to do before we leave this world. And I was just, from my side, I said, I just want to try to associate with very intimate singers or devotees and have really deep Krishna Katha. For me, that's the most powerful thing that I've ever found. So thank you, Chaitanya Prabhu, for helping put this together as the devotees.
We're very fortunate that you give us your time in this way and generate these conversations and topics. Thank you for that.
Krishna Bhajan Prabhu wants to share something.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I think just the fact that you said what you said just now, I thought I'd say something. But thank you so much. I think it was such a nice class. I appreciate it, especially, I mean, there's so much to appreciate in the class, but that point of where there's almost a parallel conversation happening between Ramananda Roy and Lord Chaitanya. On one side, and we see the conversation, or we understand that part of Chaitanya Charitamrita where, exactly as you said, it's almost to educate us, but then you flipped it, and you're saying that Lord Chaitanya wants to know this, and he wants to know more because of wanting to understand deeper about Srimati Radharani. So yeah, I was thinking there has to be more to that conversation that meets the eye.
It's interesting to me too, just as a little footnote in the research we've been doing, is a book that a friend of ours has translated. Jaguar is going to be annoyed with me when I mention this, that we haven't yet published, called Mahabhav Prakash. It's already translated. And that book, it's written by Kanai Kuntia, who was the head priest, head pujari at the Jagannath Mandir. He was living just stone's throw from the Gambhira. And in the beginning of the book, he says that he heard these things from Ramananda Roy in the Gambhira. So that book is about Mahabhav Prakash. It's about the greatest manifestation of ecstasy of the Lord. And that's what's going on in the Gambhira. It's a little bit of a strange book in some ways, Jaguar. Sometimes in Gaudiya literature, some books are a little unusual. In this particular one, it's only one chapter that we have, and there's a lot of verses missing and things too. It's a little hard to read together. But anyway, it reminded me of that. So I'm always wondering when good fortune is going to arise and I get to have darshan again, Krishna Bhajan Prabhu. But I think they don't want to let you leave South Africa. You're like one of the national treasures.
I was just thinking, Prabhu, you're looking for alternative accommodation where you are. I was just thinking, why not just come to South Africa? We have accommodation. We can always make a plan. Just come for a few weeks.
That might be a serious thing. It's warm there, Krishna.
Yeah.
It's summer there. It's underneath the planet.
It's the best weather right now. If weather is a deciding factor, it's the best weather right now.
Cold weather is like against my religion, That's why we couldn't. I have a hard time. Today I'm walking around with gloves on and a hat on. Everybody else, some people got t-shirts on and whatever, but I've got a heavy coat. All these things. It's just too cold for me here. I can't deal with the cold. I'm used to pouring.
Shall we make arrangements? We can do that.
Well, let's see what happens. Let's wait and see what we need. Hopefully, we'll be in India in a week or two, and see what happens. But thank you for that. And that's a possibility. It's a very strong possibility. We may go to Czech a little bit. I really want to see Jaguar. Not Jaguar. I also want to see Jaguar. But Leela Purushottam. Now maybe going to Thai Prabhu. And we'll see. Thank you for that. Thank you very much. So we'll go ahead and stop unless somebody has something burning they want to share. Okay, no burning shares. Thank you all very much, and we'll see everybody next week. Should be same place, same time. I'm sorry I messed up in the other group. I gave 2 hours wrong time as I had it backwards. Anyway, thank you all very much. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Vanchakalpatarubhascha Kripasinda Vicha Papitanam Pavani Vaishnava Vaishnava